Jones Act was created
Okay, let me zoom in.
to preserve
A little more.
American independence.
There it is.
The Jones Act enforcer patrols our waters.
This is the Jones Act Enforcer on vesselfinder.com, and this thing is weird. I'm a bit obsessed with it. Let me show you the Budget Michael Bay YouTube channel that this boat has. So, this is the Jones Act Enforcer, and I want to tell you why I think this is the weirdest boat in America. A boat that looks official, but is not a government boat.
These are our waters.
It is a Batman-style vigilante that is working to enforce a 100-year-old law. And this weird boat is a case study in unintended consequences.
The Jones Act enforcer. We'll be watching.
I'm Boatman.
Hey man, we've got work to do before we get to you.
Get it? It's like Batman with an O.
I get it. To understand the Jones Act Enforcer, you will need to understand the Jones Act. I mean, this is a 100-year-old law. Polymatter did a video about it a little bit ago. I think I first heard about it on Planet Money, but you need the context to understand what the boat is enforcing. This is Wesley Jones, and he was behind the Jones Act section of the Merchant Marine Act of 1920. The goal was to rebuild the American national maritime industry for good and for profit. Imagine this is Vancouver, Canada, a foreign port, and this is Seattle, an American port. And here is Portland, also in America. The Jones Act says that a foreign ship can go from Vancouver to Seattle, but it can't pick up stuff in Seattle and deliver it to Portland. A ship that hits the Seattle to Portland route, domestic to domestic, has to be American-owned, American-made, and American crewed. Cabotage is the name for this type of shipping regulation, by the way. I just wanted you to know that. In theory, this law means a bunch of ships and shipyards would be built to support the regulated market. That's a ship. I just drew a ship. But in reality, look at this. It largely cratered U.S. domestic shipping and fleet percentages because Jones Act ships cost many multiples of using non-Jones Act compliant ships. There are some serious effects of this. Puerto Rico and Hawaii, for example, they do not like the Jones Act. Think about it. If you're in Seattle and need to ship something to Portland, a boat is too costly, but it's okay because you can use a train or a truck. There is no train that goes to Puerto Rico and Hawaii. So as a result, they pay much higher prices for everything. Here's one story that shows Hawaii families paying an extra $1,800 a year due to Jones Act compliant shipping. In addition, the Jones Act creates hassles during disasters to find ships that qualify to deliver emergency supplies.
The decision comes in following pressure to waive the Jones Act,
which is why you see it waived for so many disasters.
We are looking right now at the Jones Act waivers.
The Secretary of Homeland Security can waive that act.
This is also why Puerto Rico's governor asked to keep the waiver going in 2017.
I think there needs to be further consideration onto the Jones Act extension.
So why does the Jones Act keep going? The strange support ripples across political lines.
Yes, I share your support for the Jones Act. It is so important to a maritime industry that creates hundreds of thousands of jobs, as well as the shipbuilding industry here in the U.S.
So President Trump went very anti-Trump by waiving the Jones Act. He went anti-American worker, anti-American made.
But to me, it's the unintended consequences that are fascinating. And that is where we get back to the weirdest boat in America. Let me ask you a question. Is a turbine set up in the middle of the ocean a part of the United States? The Jones Act complicates offshore wind installation. These wind turbines are massive things. They're more common in Europe, but they're starting to show up in America. They run big amounts of power back to the land. But in America, these turbines have to comply with the Jones Act when they're installed. So now this sci-fi futuristic idea is being affected by a post-World War I law. Turbines are typically installed by wind turbine installation vessels, giant things that basically plug into the ground and jam stuff in. They are kind of amazing, but none of them are Jones Act compliant. Energy companies are building a $500 million Jones Act compliant one now, which the installation vessel's designer explains.
This vessel is Jones Act. Now building
is the first of
is
its
the first.
kind?
built in the U.S.
Yeah, in the U.S.
Because,
Okay.
the cost of build here is essentially twice the cost of building in Asia.
In the meantime, they've got to do workarounds. Look at this article. See the barge? A wind turbine installation vessel should be doing that work itself, but to comply with the Jones Act, they have to have a Jones Act barge do it because it's going from one domestic port, the land, to another, the turbine and the installation. Enter the paranoid Jones Act enforcer.
We'll go through the darkness and protect American shipping without fear or favor, without discretion.
Okay, don't question my process.
Cabotage.
Funded by the Offshore Marine Service Association, this boat is just a boat they got and painted it to look official gray. And they have no government power. The idea here is literally just that they spy on boats and tattle on them for violating the Jones Act. They say that there's not enough enforcement. It is a dude taking pictures on a boat and sending them to the real enforcers.
I am the only vessel for justice.
I like trucks. I like country music. I enjoy the fumes of Federico Fellini.
Foreigner.
But I think that, on the whole, this boat prowling around is supposed to have a chilling effect. Don't violate the act, but even more so, don't take the act away from us, because the Jones Act is for this new industry, too. For a fragile industry balancing on the edge of profit with $500 million capital investments, this is the difference between a clean energy source and nothing at all. Starting off with European parts could help ease that transition from 0 to 100, but that is against the law and a vigilante's code.
I'm not going anywhere.
As we're tracking these other vessels, we go out and take pictures of foreign vessels and see what they're doing so that that information can be forwarded.
So I think this story is a bit toothless if I don't tell you how I personally feel about the politics. Am I a Cato Institute-style libertarian who hates it, or an American First shipping industry fanboy who thinks that it's necessary? Truth is that I probably land somewhere in the middle in like some sort of repeal and replace zone. I mean, the act makes all our stuff cost more, and it is unambiguously bad, I think, for Puerto Rico and Hawaii. So we can't just have the status quo keep going. At the same time, I think in an era of Russian blockade attempts and a paranoid Cold War with China that is kind of starting up, it is unrealistic to advocate totally abandoning maritime nationalism. I have no idea what you're supposed to do instead, and that might kind of be what's keeping the Jones Act going. What I do know is that the work of Wesley Jones shows that market-shaping laws have weird ocean wave-style ripples throughout time. There is another good analogy. Imagine a boy's parents go to the theater. They're mugged. That boy turns out to be the richest kid in the city. And to process his...
What's that? Sorry, I was boatmaning too hard.
To process his pain, he dresses up in a funny costume.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Instead of trying to really fix the system. Well, that has really happened. But he's not a bat. He's a boat. Hey, what's up? That's it for this one. Thanks for watching. Personal channel here. Personal videos, history videos. I've gotten some criticism lately about that spiel that I do about the personal channel, but you know, that's what it is. And if you're new here, I want you to know what's going on. This is the kind of stuff that I cover. Over on Patreon, there is a reaction video, and that is where I kind of go through and talk about all the research that I left out or all the kind of different turns that I chose not to take. There's a lot in this story. I had a whole digression about the cruise ship industry that hopefully I'll share over there. But otherwise, thank you for watching, and I'd love to know what you think in the comments. And honestly, I'd love to know some kind of plausible solutions to this problem, because I came away from it thinking that it was a lot thornier than some of the podcast and YouTube videos that I had seen, that there were like complicated, confusing things about this act I didn't know how to solve. So I'd be interested to like hear the debate and any ideas that you might have. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching.